Hello and welcome. You're on StratNews Global, and I'm Nitin Gokhale. And I have some important updates from the line of actual control, where the situation remains tense but under control, as they say in the old dispatches in the newspapers. And what are those updates that I want to give you? Is that there is no fresh buildup on either side of the LAC. The reinforcements have not been brought in as has been made out in some reports or some satellite imagery. That's something that I can confirm because the people who are on ground have looked at the entire area and have reported that there are no fresh buildups on either side, neither on Indian side nor on the Chinese side. The first update, of course, is that the meeting of the Major Generals is over. And the Major Generals had a long 2 hour long, 2.5 hour long meeting. The effort was to try and implement the agreement that was decided or sort of arrived at on 6th June, which the decisions were discussed between the two Major Generals, and of course to reduce the tension. The meeting, for your information, took place at the Petrol Point 14, where the clash between the two sides occurred on 15th June, which resulted in more than 20 deaths on the Indian side. And now we are hearing that the deaths on the Chinese side are close to 30. The details from the Chinese side have not been shared, but the details available to Indian authorities, Indian sources, is that more than 30 Chinese soldiers have died in that clash that took place on 15th June. The other important update that I have is that there's no Indian soldier missing or in custody of the Chinese. All soldiers have been accounted for. 20 of them, unfortunately, got killed in action, have been, in some parlance, martyred. But I would prefer the term killed in action because this was a military clash between, although not in the conventional terms, no firearms were used. And I want to come to the situation on the LAC now. Senior officers say there is no ambiguity on rules of engagement on the line of actual control. Each and every soldier who's deployed from north to south in eastern Ladakh, be it at Petrol Point 14, in DBO, at Gogra, at Hot Springs, or along the fingers north bank on the north bank of Pangangso. There is no ambiguity. They are prepared for all eventualities, and also the army and the Northern Command, and I think the government has clarified, and I want to emphasize that here, that the soldiers who were involved in the clash were not unarmed. They were carrying firearms, but the protocols rather agreed between India and China for engagement at the line of actual control in 1996 and 2005 mandates that the firearms have to be carried, but they have to be slung on the shoulders, and they need to be pointing southwards, pointing downwards, in fact, according to those two protocols in 1996 and 2005. Now, people will question why, under adverse circumstances, Indian soldiers did not open fire. There are two reasons. One, of course, is the amazing discipline and the rules of engagement that have been drilled into the soldier's mind, that no matter what happens, you're not supposed to use the firearms on the line of actual control. That's one reason. The second is that, of course, by the time the melee became, or the fisticuffs and the clash became serious, it was already dark, and it was not easy to identify a foe or friend in that melee when there were fisticuffs being exchanged, where clubs were being used, where lathis were being used, where the rods were being used. And therefore, in that confined area of the Galwan Valley, it was not easy to use the firearms. These are the two reasons which those who are involved there have shared with the higher ups. And one thing one has to salute to the Indian soldier, that their discipline is amazing, even at under very adverse circumstances, as they were on that particular day. Um, as I said, all soldiers deployed in eastern Ladakh are ready for battle in the entire spectrum of warfighting. Although the talks are going on to reduce the tension and sort of resume disengagement, the soldiers now know exactly what to do if the tension goes up. If the next step is taken on the escalatory ladder, or it dials down in coming days, the soldiers know exactly what they have to do in the entire spectrum of warfighting. That's something that our sources have emphasized, those who are involved in planning and executing the deployment and, of course, the protocols on the line of actual control. Another point to be noted is that in the week between 8 and 14 June, that is 2 days after the 6th June meeting, the engagement or disengagement between two sides had indeed taken place at various points, and the troops had fallen back at least a kilometer and a half on either side. They had not gone back to their peacetime locations. They remained where they are. The buildup that had started on 5th and 6th of May on the Chinese side, and the subsequent buildup, matching buildup or mirror deployment on the Indian side, remains intact. As I said at the beginning of this program, that the buildup and the kind of strength that the Chinese had brought in and then the Indians matched remains almost identical, except for those small disengagement that had taken place on the line of actual control at, say, PP14, at Gogra, at Hot Springs, and opposite the finger areas in north of Pengangso Lake, north bank of Pengangso Lake. But if you're seeing satellite imagery, that satellite imagery is giving you the build-up which had taken place in the month of May and June. So there is no fresh build-up as it is being made out there. The week, as I said, between 8 and 14 June, there was these disengagements happening in various steps and at various locations. But suddenly on 15 June, that was a Sunday, I presume, Monday, 15 June, the Chinese side tried to establish a temporary tent at the patrol point 14, which is a meeting point also. Even today, that was a meeting point. When they tried to establish that tent, the commanding officer of that Bihar regiment unit went across to remind the Chinese that they were supposed to have vacated that face-off site on their side, and our people on our side had vacated, and they were supposed to also go back to their rear locations. They had not gone, and this was in violation of the June 6 agreement. So they had come back after about 20 days to the Indian side, and therefore you must go back. That is the point at dusk, almost dark. The dusk was fading into darkness on 15 June when the commanding officer was attacked, and then, of course, the subsequent clash took place. They turned back. They attacked the CO, who was right in front there with his two buddies. He was the one who was attacked. He fell on the ground, and he, of course, then got injured seriously. And then it was free for all until midnight. So these are some of the updates that I want to share. Again, emphasizing there is no fresh build-up on either side. And today's meeting was a starting point to reduce the tension and look at the roadmap ahead. The numbers, as I said, on the Chinese side, at least 30 to 35 fatal casualties on the Chinese side, sort of assessed through various means by visual, visual imagery, visual contact, where helicopters have been carrying a number of stretchers on even yesterday, which was Wednesday, 2 days after the clash on the Chinese side. And that is the assessment that has been made, that the Chinese also lost considerable numbers. But as is their policy, whether in 1962, whether in 1967 or later, they never give out the numbers. And therefore, we may not know the exact numbers for the next 10 years maybe. But the fact is, both sides have suffered in that clash. And now the effort is to dial down the tension at that particular flashpoint and then, of course, implement the decisions of the June 6 meeting, which took place between the two lieutenant generals or two lieutenant general level officers. Today's meeting was at Patrol Point 14. A major general from Indian side and a major general from the Chinese side had that meeting for nearly 2.5 hours. The overall outcome is yet to be known, but the meeting was meant to reduce tension and lay down a roadmap for de-escalation and disengagement in the coming days and weeks. That's the update that I had, really. There are, of course, several questions coming in during this live broadcast, but I think most of those questions have been answered. Somebody is asked, I'll just take a couple of questions maybe. Suraj Naik is asking whether the pre-May 8 positions are just few kilometers from where they were. Now, Suraj, that is the kind of step-by-step process that was supposed to take place. If you remember the breaking news I had given some 10 days ago about, not 10 days ago really, about a week ago, where I had talked about the roadmap going forward. And therefore, those steps will happen. Eventual aim is to go back to the pre-May 8 positions, and of course, then have a status quo ante restored. But the question is, which has been asked at number of points, whether the Chinese will abide by the agreements, because they have shown that they can break agreements and protocols at a drop of a hat. Now, that is something we have to live with and manage that situation. If this happens again, who knows what will be Indian action? I don't want to speculate, but India, and I want to emphasize this again and again, that the protocols are well in place, the soldiers are ready, they're battle ready for the entire spectrum of war fighting. There is no fresh buildup, and there is no additional troops coming on either side. That's something that I can tell you with total confidence, because I've got updates from people who are in the know at that location and further. So therefore, this is what I think was important to state, that the current situation there is tense. Obviously, tempers may not have cooled down completely, but both sides recognize that they need to talk, they need to engage, and then follow the rules of engagement that are there. Although that breakdown has taken place, lives have been lost, but going forward, we'll have to wait and watch how it unfolds in the coming days and weeks. That's all I have for now, but do keep watching our YouTube channel. You will get announcements on our social media handles, and of course our website, StratNewsGlobal.com, is something that you must visit time and again to get the latest, not just on the LAC situation, but also its implications, the long-term fallout for India-China relations, and of course all other foreign policy and international relations topics and developments that take place across the globe from a South Asian perspective. Until the next time, this is Nitin Gokhale saying bye.